just so cool that these two Japanese brands have been able to bring back such legendary names and put them on sale in 2025. I've got the Nissan Z Nismo versus the Toyota GR Supra. Now these two are direct competitors and have been for a very long time, but these two specifically maybe not perfect competitors because the Nissan Z Nismo is slightly tuned and tweaked version of the regular Z, while this is just the GTS version of the Supra. Toyota has announced a track edition version, which is probably more directly competing against that Nismo Z, because it comes with tuned suspension, some little tweaks, aero tweaks and stuff like that. Although the Nismo comes with a tuned engine as well compared with the regular Z. But anyway, let's see how they go. They're both rear-wheel drive, both Japanese and both grey. Under the bonnet in the Toyota, we've got a 3-litre single-turbo inline-6 BMW B58 engine, 285 kilowatts and 500 newton meters, matched to a ZF-based 8-speed automatic with rear-wheel drive and a limited slip differential. And then in the Nismo, we've got a 3-litre twin-turbo and V6 engine, producing 309 kilowatts and 520 newton meters, paired with a 9-speed automatic with rear-wheel drive and a limited slip differential. So very similar figures, but if we break it down a little bit further, we'll see peak torque is spread from 2,000 to 5,200 RPM in the Nissan, and a little bit more, so 520 newton meters, while the Toyota 500 newton meters is spread from 1,800 to 5,000 RPM. So exactly the same window range, it's just lower in the Toyota, or kind of suggests peakier in the Nissan. But then if we look at peak power, 6,400 right on in the Nissan, while in the Toyota, slightly less power, but spread from 5,800 to 6,500 RPM. So it actually revs a little bit, or peak power is available from 100 RPM higher in the Toyota. And then if we look at the weight figures, we've got 1,633 kilograms curb weight in the Nissan and 1,525 kilograms in the Toyota. So definitely a good advantage in the Toyota. They're 100 kilos roughly lighter than the Nissan. Even so, the power to weight ratio, because it's got more power, the Nissan is ahead, 189 kilowatts or 189.22 kilowatts per tonne versus 186.89 kilowatts per tonne in the Toyota. So this should be a very close race. I don't think, or I couldn't find a claimed 0 to 100 time for the Nissan in Australia. There might be an American time, but in Australia there's no official claim. But in the Toyota, it's 4.1 seconds, so it should be very, very close. As usual, I'll set up the tripod at 3 different spots down this private road for the full quarter mile, including about the halfway point. It's not quite the 1/8 mile, and roughly the finish line, so 1/4 mile, 400 meters, roughly. It's not exactly, but roughly. And then during the editing, I'll splice them together so they take off at the exact same time, so it represents what a drag race would look like. I mean, the only difference is the weather is going to be a little bit different. Both are pretty cool days, but it's probably just a slight bit cooler today for the Toyota. Also, the Toyota had about half a tank of petrol during the V-Box testing, so the in-car shots were done after the actual V-Box testing. I did about 10 runs in the Toyota to try out all the different modes and so on. Same with the Nissan as well. But I think the Nissan had a little bit more fuel, but I don't think it's going to make a huge difference in terms of 0 to 100 and quarter mile. Let's see how they go. There we go, pretty close result between these two. I mean, you could sit here all day and you'd probably pair them up, but in the end, the Toyota just gets there in terms of 0 to 100 and the quarter mile. I think the reason for the way that it was quicker, even though it has a sort of lower power to weight ratio, is down to the transmission. The ZF in this Toyota is absolutely perfect. Like, it just nails home every gear and it feels very decisive and direct. Also, the tyres on the Toyota, I think, are superior, at least on this surface and for acceleration runs, because there's hardly any wheel spin and it's just, yeah, it goes through those gears, just hammers through those gears. Whereas the Nissan, it just feels, I want to say, a little bit clumsier. Like, the transmission, it's not as direct, and the ratios might not be perfect either, whereas in this, yeah, the ratios feel absolutely perfect as well. But as I said, you could probably sit here all day and swap the results around. Very close. The top end's a little bit better in the Toyota as well. You've got 0 to 215.26 in the Nissan, and then 14.10 in the Toyota. So yeah, I think the transmission is what's doing that. It's just an awesome transmission. It's no wonder a lot of different manufacturers use this transmission. ZF, 8 HP, different tunes and calibrations and so on, but that's the kind of foundation of the transmission. What would I pick out of these two? Look, my driving style suits the Toyota. I like it. It's a bit, I guess, firmer but more direct and more consistent. Like, I can drift this thing very easily, and I know what it's going to do when it goes around the corner. The differential just hooks up. I know it's going to hook up, and you know, if it's going to kick out, I know when it's going to kick out. The Nissan is a little bit more unpredictable, again, in my opinion and for my driving style. It's got like I don't know what the scientific term is, but there's a bit of sort of torsional cross or diagonal forces going on in the Nissan. Like, you'll come around and it will try to push more power to the outside wheel to get it going around the corner, maybe, but this is what it feels like. And then when you come out of the corner, it kind of slingshots back the other way a little bit, a bit like a tank slapper. The Mustang does this as well a little bit. And once you get used to it, once I can get used to it, it's actually really good. But yeah, it just takes me a little bit longer to get used to. Whereas the Toyota, I can jump in, I know exactly what it's going to do every time, and it's just, yeah, much more intuitive and predictable. The ride quality is a bit firmer in the Toyota, in saying that. So if you are looking to do a lot of cruising and so on, then the Nissan is probably the pick. There's a little bit more boot space in the Toyota if that concerns you. 290 litres versus 241, I think, in the Nissan. So yeah, there's a little bit more. I mean, it's not much. They're both meant for, you know, grand touring, two-seaters. There's no seats in the back. Bit of storage in the Nissan. There's not as much maybe in the Toyota. You've got the 2 cup holders and that little tray at the back, but that's about it. Whereas the Nissan feels like it's just a bit more practical in terms of the cabin where the passengers are. The sound, yeah, they both got, well, this has got fake sound coming into the interior, but on the outside, this sounds glorious. Like, it's just inline 6 beauty, whereas the Nissan, it's got that kind of GTR or R35 GTR vacuum cleaner sound to it a little bit. I'm sure with some tuning or an aftermarket exhaust or something, you could get them both sounding really, really cool. And it's just, they're different sounds, whatever you prefer. Again, I've got a soft spot for inline 6s. I love that sound, that singing sort of sound to it. But yeah, it'd just be good if they didn't put in artificial sounds coming through to the inside. I'd rather just be a bit quiet if that's the case, but still hear the natural sound of the inline 6 rather than this amped up fake sound. In terms of fuel consumption, the Toyota wins there. The official average is 7.5 litres per 100 in the Toyota and 10.4 in the Nismo. So that's a big gap. I think in the real world, they're a bit closer. Like, I've been averaging about 12 in the Toyota, but I've been thrashing it around, having some fun. You can easily get it down into the sort of the 9s. And I think you can do that with the Nissan as well, if you're cruising and so on. So on paper, though, the Nissan is thirstier, but I think you could probably match them up in the real world in certain circumstances, like cruising and so on. They're going to be fine. The Nissan might chew a bit more when you are thrashing it. So if you're going to take these to the track, you might go through a tank quicker in the Nissan than you will in this. You know, you're not absolutely flooring it the whole time, but just on it a fair bit more. Then I think that will be thirstier. Prices are pretty close as well. We've got, the Nissan is $94,605 and the Toyota is $97,380 for this GTS version. So a little bit more expensive for the Toyota. I mean, what's that? $3,000 or $4,000 more expensive. So it's not too much. I think the Nissan is probably going to be more collectible, to be honest, because they've made quite a few of the Toyotas, and the Toyota is a bit more popular in terms of sales in Australia. So that means the Nissan is a bit more exclusive. So it might help to increase the value in the long term, especially the Nismo version. It's like, yeah, just a bit more special. What else? Yeah, apart from that, I love them both, but my pick is the Toyota for this contest. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Thanks for watching.